Now, I think it's fair to say that I had a pretty decent game week in Game Week 9. I scored 81 points and I'm up to 167k overall. And here are my transfer plans for Game Week 10. So I thought I'd start off the video just by looking at how my team got on in a bit more detail in Game Week 9. So like I said, 81 points, 167k overall. It says X points, it's meant to be just normal points. And I've got 2 free transfers and 0.3 million in the bank. I'll go on to like my future transfer plans in a second, but just looking at the players in my team and how they got on first. Flecken, another blank for him. And I must say, I'm kind of doubting any sort of ability of Brentford to keep clean sheets. I say this in every video, but the best goalkeepers in FPL are ones that get like an average amount of clean sheets and consistently make saves. And Flecken, he's proven to be only one of those. Well, in Game Week 9, he didn't even get saves bonus, right? A single pointer, he could potentially be on the chopping block. I don't usually like making goalkeeper transfers, but I think in a case of Flecken, you know, he's not performing very well in FPL, right? And yeah, I think there is a case to get rid of him. In defense, I had Guardiola and Lewis, a Man City double up. If you look back to my team and my plans that I put together for Game Week 9, I was away, so I couldn't actually make a video about my final team selection or a deadline stream, but I posted on YouTube what my team was and the transfers I made. I sold Gabriel and Trent for Guardiola and 8 Nori. I actually benched 8 Nori, who scored a goal. But Guardiola came in, got a 9-pointer, clean sheet and 3 bonus points, and then Rico Lewis has been in my team as like a stalwart since I played my wildcard back along. Man City actually kept a clean sheet in Game Week 9, so obviously having 2 of their defenders was really good. I opted to start Aina over 8 Nori because, quite honestly, I thought Nottingham Forest were more likely to keep a clean sheet against Leicester than 8 Nori was to keep a clean sheet or score against Brighton, quite simply. That didn't come to fruition. They won the game, but they didn't keep a clean sheet, and obviously 8 Nori scored, so a bit of a benching mistake there, but you know, given the opportunity to play my team again, I probably wouldn't do anything too different there. Morgan Rogers subbed on the 59th minute, so he didn't even get 2 points this week, just the 1 point for him. But I don't think that's going to put me off him being a good option, in my opinion. I think he's a really strong option still in this game, and he's going to stay in my team. Cole Palmer with a goal against Newcastle, and Mbumo with a brace. I'm really happy with the 3 of them, Mbumo, Palmer and Salah, really, to be completely honest with you. Chris Wood, absolute hero, 21 goals now that is, from his last 29 Premier League starts. I mentioned it in my buy and avoid video, but 21 goals in 29 starts, right? That's performance levels you'd expect from a premium forward, which Chris Wood, in terms of pricing, definitely isn't in this game. So for me, he's got some relatively a bit tougher fixtures coming up, but I don't think he's going to go anywhere in my team. I sold Solanke and bought Raul Jimenez, likewise selling Eze to buy Cole Palmer. Eze got an assist, Cole Palmer got a goal, Solanke blanked, and unfortunately Jimenez blanked as well. But he still put up some pretty decent underlying numbers in his game in Game Week 9, so I'll let him off the blank in the week that I buy him. I think he's still going to come good. Fulham have really good fixtures, and with Andreas Pereira missing his penalty in Game Week 8 in really poor style against Aston Villa, I would like to think that Raul Jimenez will now be the penalty taker for Fulham, which is one of the reasons I bought him. So I think it's only a matter of time before he at least gets a penalty. And like I said, the underlying data is really good. And Haaland as my captain, 12-pointer for him. Obviously just the goal. He scored obviously against Southampton, so at least he didn't blank. But I would genuinely make the argument now, could you get rid of him? That's something I'll talk about in a second. Alright, so I thought it would be a little bit easier to talk about my potential transfer plans by looking at my team, looking at the player prices, the fixtures they've got coming up, and obviously the free transfers and money in the bank that I have available. So right now, my team has a 97% AI rating, according to Fantasy Football Hub. By the way, if you want to see this kind of data for yourself about your own team, there's a link to sign up to Fantasy Football Hub in the description. I'll get you 30% off the main price that you'll see. So you get a discount if you use my code, well, my link basically, if you want to see this kind of data for your own team. So going through the team then, I mentioned a few players that could potentially be on the chopping block. And there's one other that's a little bit of a risk. So first of all, we've got Flecken, right? I've got 0.3 million in the bank to play around with. So I could afford, if I just wanted a straight swap Flecken, I could afford a new goalkeeper that is 4.8 million. And what I've done here is pull off a list of the top goalkeepers for expected points according to Fantasy Football Hub over the next 5 game weeks. And Flecken's right up in the mix. He's 18.6 expected points. Obviously got 5 decent fixtures coming up, but then it does kind of turn, I guess, in game week 14. But I still go back to, in my opinion, the best goalkeepers in FPL are ones that keep an average amount of clean sheets and consistently get saves points, right? Whereas Flecken is one that is delivering fairly well in terms of saves points, but he's not kept a clean sheet there this season, right? Whereas the 2 goalkeepers around him are sort of within my budget. Jordan Pickford, I could do a straight swap for and get in my team right away. His fixtures coming up are relatively decent, and there's no doubt about it. They've kept clean sheets this season, and last season, did they keep 30? It was either 9 or 13 clean sheets. I think they kept 13 clean sheets last season, did Everton, which is crazy level numbers, which is why Jordan Pickford was the top scoring goalkeeper in FPL, because his team kept decent amount of clean sheets, and also he made a lot of saves. And I think once Branthwaite gets back in the team and fully, fit and integrated into that team again, I think Everton become that kind of defensive force that they were last season. And yeah, I think Jordan Pickford could be a really good option. You see there, the expected points data is not too different between the 2 players. I'm not going to hide from that. But I do personally think that I don't think Flecken is going to be in my team for all that much longer. Perhaps just with Fulham away, I mean, I've got Jimenez up front who I back to score. So it's kind of, counterintuitive, I guess, to have Flecken in my team. Whereas Pickford's got Southampton away. So just in game week 10 in isolation, that's a better fixture. So that's one position that I'm potentially looking to upgrade, right? Flecken, not kept a clean sheet yet this season. Doing fairly well for saves. Fulham, Everton and Bournemouth coming up. I mean, Everton, there could potentially be a clean sheet there because I don't really think Everton are all that clever going forward. But Fulham and Bournemouth have definitely been decent going forwards this season in scoring goals. And I've got Raul Jimenez in my team because I believe in his ability to score goals. It's kind of counterproductive to say that Flecken is a good option for next week. And then Bournemouth, the likes of Semenyo, etc., they're pretty good from a goal scoring perspective as well. So I probably don't think Brentford are going to keep a clean sheet in those 2 games. That's famous last words. So yeah, I really do think I could potentially get rid of Flecken there. Another player I wanted to talk about, potentially getting rid of, is Erling Haaland. Looking at the upcoming captaincy, or captaincies in the future 6 games. So I went through this in my buy and avoid video, but I'm sorry to repeat myself, but this is very relevant for my own team as well. And I imagine probably for yours as well. I think most people watching this video probably have Haaland in their team. And this is what his next 6 fixtures look like comparatively, or compared to other players who I think you'd want to captain. So looking at game weeks 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14, I think there is genuinely a captaincy alternative to Erling Haaland. And for me, when you're spending the budget that you have to get Erling Haaland in your team, what's his value at the moment? 15.4 million. If you're spending 15.4 million on a player, you pretty much want to be captaining them, I'd say 95% of the time. And I would definitely make I'd hedge a bet that Salah, Son, Salah or Palmer in 12, Son in 13, Palmer in 14, and then gets back to 15 when Haaland's probably the best captain. Over those next 5 game weeks, I think you could pick a player who would either match or beat Erling Haaland's total, at least going into the game week as a projection, right? I don't see that as being like an outrageous suggestion. And just going back to Haaland as well, 15.4 million, obviously scored a goal against Southampton in game week 9, but do you want literally more than 1 goal per game week for him to be worth actually having in your team at that price? That's genuinely a question that I think I would ask. However, I do kind of have a Haaland sort of issue in my team at the moment because I could get rid of him, I could sell him. But ultimately, the other 10 players in my team, I'm not sure I could really upgrade them all that much. I guess Rodgers could become Saka. That's something I could do. But then I quite like the idea of having Morgan Rodgers in my team. I mean, I could potentially downgrade Erling Haaland to a really cheap striker, someone like Wissa, for example, and then upgrade Dibbling to Saka. That could be a good way to play things as well. But, you know what I mean? I think this team, the 10 outfield players that will start for this team all look pretty decent, to the point where I don't think I need to be rushing Erling Haaland out of my team in my particular circumstance. But what I am suggesting is that you could sell him. Your team is probably going to be different to mine, which means circumstances are different for you. You might want to chase other captaincies. You might not own Salah or Palmer, who I think are probably the best captains over Yeah, well, you wouldn't captain Palmer, I guess, in 11, but you captain Salah in 10, probably go back to Salah or Haaland in 11. Then Palmer is a genuine captaincy shout in 12. He definitely is a captaincy shout in 14. Again, the same for 13 when Haaland and Salah play each other. So I think I've kind of got all the big captaincies covered over the next few game weeks. So for me, I don't see a massive case to sell him, but while I'm certainly open to the idea of it if it made sense for my team, and I didn't want to not talk about it because I think it could be relevant for you guys. And I'm well aware that he is in like a sellable position at the moment, if that's the right way to phrase it. But with me, my team, the amount of transfers I have, the money I have in the bank, I just don't quite think it makes sense. I just have to shout out Chris Wood. 9 appearances, 7 goals in the league so far this season. It is a bit of an overperformance of expected goals. 3.68 XG and 7 goals. Suggests that his level of return so far might not necessarily carry on for the full season. But I will say the sample size of good data that we have about Chris Wood is better than just 7 goals from 9 games this season. It's 21 goals from 29 games over the last 2 seasons. And like I said, when going through the points he scored, 21 goals from 29 games in a season, you would expect that to kind of come from a premium asset, one that's at least 10 million or above on there, and I certainly would. And Chris Wood at 6.4 million is putting up those kinds of numbers, right? Couple of things about Chris Wood, though. His fixtures do turn a little bit. He's got Newcastle at home, Arsenal away, and Man City away in the next 5 fixtures. Well, I'll go back to this stat, actually, because that shows it a little bit better. There you go. So West Ham, Newcastle, Arsenal, Ipswich, Man City. I'd say only really 2, maybe 3 of those games are actually decent. And then, obviously, Arsenal away, Man City away is probably the 2 hardest games you could go for. And he was seen getting a little bit of treatment on the bench from one of the Nottingham Forest physios. So, you know, he clearly picked up a bit of a knock in the game. Do I think that keeps him out of action on the weekend, though? Particularly when they've got Awoniyi, who could come in as a sub in midweek to play in the Cups, etc. I think Chris Wood's going to be fine for next week, to be completely honest with you. I think he probably gets saved if Forest have a game in the Cup midweek, and then he plays in game week 10. So I'm very happy to keep hold of him. So, yeah, a bit of chat there about Chris Wood. I just want to say how good of an option he is, basically. I can see, you know, people might be suggesting the buck is kind of passed on him because he's obviously got West Ham, which is a good fixture. Newcastle at home. Newcastle haven't all been that good defensively. So the next couple of fixtures are good, but then it's Arsenal away, Man City away, and the 3 after that with Ipswich at home mixed in. So, you know, you could make a case that he might not necessarily be a player that you want to absolutely rush into your team because, you know, the buck is kind of passing on him. And also with that injury doubt, you probably just want to bear in mind, you know, you want to bear that in mind when thinking about your transfers, I guess, basically, or just wait until the week progresses and we might get some more news. But for me as an owner, you know, I don't think there's any reason to justify getting rid of him. To be honest, this is going to be a bit of a boring transfer plans video because apart from the goalkeeper, I've just noticed, by the way, this team, I've got Aina as the picture for Ait-Nouri, so you'll have to forgive me on that one. So yeah, sorry about that. It is Ait-Nouri who's going to start, but I do think as well there's a real case to play Aina against West Ham at home, so that's something I'll have to think about. So yeah, this team in game week 10 is expected to get 67.1 expected points and 97% AI rating as it stands at the moment. 2 free transfers, 0.3 million in the bank, and I think the 2 major decisions is do I sell Haaland, although ultimately, you know, I don't think I have enough free transfers alongside that to really change my team around enough. And likewise, I could sell Flecken for maybe someone like Jordan Pickford, or I could do something to get Onana in my team as well. But right now, my gut is saying I should probably roll. All right, and that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed that and found it useful. If you did, please leave me a like rating. Apologies for Ola Aina substituting in there for Ait-Nouri. That'll be fixed in my team selection video. Apologies for that. I think that's everything. You know, if you have any other suggestions for my team that are different to what I've said, please let me know in the comments. Just let me know down below. Ultimately, I think this is probably going to be a roll week for me unless I do something with my goalkeeper. I'm relatively happy with my team. I've just made 4 free transfers, basically a mini wildcard halfway through the sort of first half of the season. So, yeah, pretty happy with my team. I'll take the green arrow, 167k overall. Really happy with the rank this early on in the season. Yeah, I'm hoping it could be a good one. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please leave me a like rating. If you haven't already, I think 75% of people that are watching my videos have not subscribed to the channel. So if you want to do that to see more content from me, you can hit the subscribe button, which should be just there on your screen. I think that's everything. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in my next video.